Working with friends for us, it was a bit hard at first because we need to figure out like how much is too much, if are we crossing any boundaries, are we ruining our friendship over this. Honestly, like I'm so thankful for the people I'm working with because my partners, like they cover everything I cannot do. And after working together for almost 2 years, I think if this company was made with different people, it wouldn't have succeeded this way.
Welcome back to another episode of Inside Japan, and on this one I'm speaking with my friend Pio, who's a partner at House Tokyo, a new all-service fashion design studio based in Tokyo. I love her story because it shows that no matter where you come from, if you come in with a humbleness and a willingness to learn, you can build something really awesome in Japan. I hope you enjoy this conversation. Hey Pio, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me, Charlie.
Can you tell me a little bit about what led you to joining as a partner at this fashion studio?
Well, kind of knew the partners before this project, but one of them just messaged me and was like, "Do you want to join this?" And it's like kind of encompasses like everything I want to do in life. So I just joined, and so now I am here with my 3 partners working on this company.
That's really cool. So how did you get, why would he ask you to do that? Is it you have an interest in fashion, or, what's the skill set that you bring to that role?
So I have been working in media for a few years, but also I knew them as a small like wannabe fashion designer, and they taught me like how to sew and how to make patterns and stuff. So they knew me from a while back, and so they thought I would have an interest in it, and they were right. So
Yeah. So how did this company start? I know that there's a lot that goes into planning a company like this, but how did you actually start putting it together? Was it really complicated to sort of make did you have to make a business plan, or what were some of the thoughts that went into making this?
so honestly, I was really lucky to meet people who had the same vision as me, which is like helping designers.
Mm.
And we all knew how the fashion industry has like a reputation for being kind of scary or
Mm.
like difficult to get into. So we decided to make House a company dedicated to lowering the barrier of entry. And we had a lot of steps to do that. First, like we needed to figure out the problems as to why it was so hard to get in. And so one of them was like you have to go to so many different people, different companies just to make one collection for one brand. So we decided to have all of our services in one place, which is what House is. We did have a lot of planning to do, so it changed a lot along the way. And after many versions of the plan, and we kind of finalized what was best for us as well as the designers, we made our business plan, which also was like so many versions, so many drafts, and took a good while to finish that.
Yeah, I can imagine the business plan was probably important for, in Japan, maybe getting some of the permissions and stuff that you need from maybe government or regulation bodies or something about, creating a business like that. Were there any complications with, especially since, I know some of the members of your partnership are from other countries. Was it difficult to sort of get past some of those regulatory barriers?
Actually, that wasn't a big barrier for us.
Oh.
I mean, technically I'm Japanese as well, but like our biggest barrier was actually they've never encountered a company like us, which is kind of good. It means that we actually thought about how to make this company unique and necessary for this industry. And we just had to make sure our business plan was really understandable, really easy to understand for them, so that they understood how our business works and why it's needed and why it's good for the industry as well as the community in fashion.
Yeah. So you said that you're Japanese technically as well, and I wanted to, because when I met you, I thought you seemed like a American. I had no idea that you were Japanese. So
Oh,
where
my,
tell me about your background and
all
what
right.
sort of brought you to Japan in this way.
I am born and raised in America, American. I am born and raised in America, so I tend to go by American or Asian American,
Hmm.
but my parents are Japanese, which is why I said I was Japanese.
Hmm.
But how I ended up in Japan. So I came here pretty early, like right after high school, I came to Japan and I went to Keio University here. It was kind of easy to make that choice to move across the world for me because, well, Keio is a good school. And I also wanted to live in the city where the fashion culture that I really grew to like was. So that's how I ended up here.
Cool. What's interesting about the fashion the scene in Tokyo? I don't really know much about it. I'm not I'm not really that knowledgeable about fashion. What's unique about Tokyo's fashion? I know a lot of people in fashion really love Tokyo's style.
So Tokyo's kind of unique, especially the neighborhood called Harajuku, because it's the birthplace of so many subgenres of fashion. Like there's so many different variety from goth Lolita to like, I don't know, even streetwear. Like it's a bit different here than in other countries. And I love seeing so many different people take on different genres of styles and making it like their own thing. And I don't know, like I when I first came here, I was so excited to wear Lolita. So that's where I headed to first. But later on I headed to like I kind of learned about other fashion and obviously I'm not wearing Lolita today. So
Yeah, that's great. So what are some of the things that surprised you when you started House Tokyo? What were some of the things that you weren't expecting would be problems and became them, or things that you weren't expecting would be easy and were?
so everything was a learning process. Like everything was new experience to me. So I think what helped me was being like pretty open-minded and flexible. Just like whether it be like language or just not really knowing all the little things that go into making a company. We were really lucky that we found people that had experience and knowledge about each of the things we were trying to find our solution for. And another hurdle I personally had was I had to kind of readjust my life because making a startup isn't easy. It takes so much time. And I had I think a lot of my partners too have to kind of adjust their work schedule or their social life so that we have time to put into the startup.
Mm. How long have you been working on this together?
It's been almost 2 years already. Yeah.
And I know that you have your opening party in a couple of weeks, which is really exciting. What has been going into getting to this opening point in terms of not only like finding maybe finding designers that can do their first setups with you, finding ways into the industry? Like, what have you been doing that's built up to this point in the last 2 years?
Oh, so much. We started, I mean, until a few months ago, we were at a kitchen table crammed into like a small space. I mean, Japanese apartments are small. So, and we were doing both computer work and sewing and everything in one place. It was really kind of hard to do everything. So I'm really excited for this new space. We have like a whole floor for the factory and the whole floor for media. Feels like so much space.
Yeah, it's amazing, and I was there a few weeks ago, and it's actually like a real factory space. It looks really cool. Was it really difficult to get that sorted? Like, I can imagine, you've got to rent out a big place, you've got to buy all this equipment. Like, what was the most difficult thing about that?
So because we offer like all of the services here, factory media sales, we have to make sure we have all the equipment in our office. So we couldn't like just rent some random apartment place in Tokyo. So I had to, we had to find a place where all of the factory machines fit, as well as our photo studio and press room, show closet, etc. Like it's not just computers and a desk we're working with. So that was a bit hard, but we got that working. And I think one of the hardest part was actually carrying up all the machines. I know it was really heavy, so thank you for helping us.
Yeah, that was a really fun day. I enjoyed that. Okay, so what's the how is it possible to get enough money to start something like a manufacturing business in Japan? Because some businesses, if it's, especially if it's digital, you can start something online pretty cheaply. You can build a website and just start working. But yours, you have manufacturing. You have to buy all of these expensive machines just to get going. So how do you raise funds for that kind of thing? And what can maybe other entrepreneurs who have ideas to come up with like some kind of manufacturing business, are there ways that they can get extra money from government, or like ways that they can approach investors? How did you do that?
So at the very beginning, we invested our own money into this. And so we had a few machines, like we weren't working with nothing. We had a few machines, and for about those year and a half, we were pushing really hard to make our sales so that we could make our loan. So like if we weren't able to make our sales, we wouldn't really have been successful with our loan, I think. So it was the first decision to like invest our own money and invest our time in that helped lead us to getting the loan and being able to have a full factory downstairs.
So what are some of the things that you would attribute your success to, things that maybe other people could replicate?
Maybe it sounds a bit obvious to people, but choosing who you work with and how you work with them really changes how your business does. So working with friends for us, it was a bit hard at first because we need to figure out like how much is too much, if are we crossing any boundaries, are we ruining our friendship over this? It was a lot of like questions which we didn't even think would be raised. But honestly, like I'm so thankful for the people I'm working with, because my partners, like they cover everything I cannot do. And after working together for almost 2 years, we know like what each of us are strong at and what we're not that good at, and we're there to support each other on that.
That's really good. And I really liked it when we were moving all of the stuff upstairs, that even the landlord helped out. That was great. He was super friendly, and it just shows that you've got people on board who really believe in what you're doing. And I think that's such an important thing.
Honestly, I think if this company was made with different people, it wouldn't have succeeded this way.
Wow, that's really great. How do you convince people to come along with you when, like you said, the in Japan especially, maybe the fashion industry is quite difficult. You've got to go with a bunch of different companies, and it's maybe the barrier to entry is pretty high. How do you convince people that they should come along with a new company?
We're actually like we've been quite, I don't know if it's luck or something, but because we make everything easy, like people tend to like to work with us. I'm quite, honored that they think that way and that they want to work with us. But like the whole key to our company is that we make it easy for the designers. So everything that we planned, everything from like our structure was so that designers will be like, oh, instead of all of this work, I could just do everything at house. So apparently our plan worked and it has helped designers. And so that's why it hasn't been too hard. Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's really good to hear. I'm glad to hear that it's being very successful early on. So what kind of advice would you give to other foreigners looking to start any kind of business in Japan?
Honestly, just do it. Japan is like, I mean, there's a new generation and like there's a new outlook that supports small business and new ideas right now. Everyone's been very supportive or like wants to help or even wants to join us, and it's been a really like positive experience for me.
That's really good because I think a lot of people have an image in their head that Japan is some difficult place to start a business, especially as a foreigner working here. Were there any sort of special barriers that you found in your way that you had to think up some kind of novel solution around?
Well, I mean, there are difficulties. Most of mine revolve around the language. I'm not like, as I said, I was born and raised in America, so I'm not the best at the language, but fortunately, we like put our whole like life into this. So everyone around us who are friends or just knew about us like wanted to help out, and we were just lucky enough to have them help.
That's excellent. Awesome. Pio, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and telling us about your experience. Can you tell us where we can find out more about House Tokyo?
You can go to our website house.tokyo or Instagram at house.tokyo.
Okay, that's awesome. Thank you, Pio.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed that episode and you like what we're doing with Inside Japan, please consider going to iTunes and giving us a 5-star rating and sharing this episode with a friend who you think it might be useful for. As always, a huge thank you to JobsinJapan.com for sponsoring this podcast, and if you're looking for our other episodes, you can find them there, and keep us in mind next time you're looking for work in Japan. Thanks so much for listening, and see you again soon.